Once upon a time in a small village, there lived a young girl named Juliet. She was kind-hearted, always helping others, and she never spoke a harsh word to anyone. But Juliet's life was far from easy. Her father had passed away when she was very young, and she was left in the care of her stepmother and two stepsisters. They treated her terribly, making her do all the housework while they lived in luxury. Juliet's stepmother and stepsisters were mean and selfish. They made her clean the house from top to bottom, cook all the meals, and do the laundry. While they went to parties and enjoyed themselves, Juliet was left behind to scrub floors and wash dishes. She dreamed of a better life, but every day was the same, full of chores and cruel words from her family. One day, as Juliet was walking home from the market, she saw her stepsister and her friends bullying an old woman on the street. They were laughing and calling her names. Juliet couldn't stand to see someone treated so badly, so she stepped in to help.
"Leave her alone,"
Juliet said firmly. The bully sneered at her but eventually walked away, leaving the old woman in peace.
"Thank you, dear,"
the old woman said, smiling at Juliet.
"Not many people would have stood up for me like that."
"It was the right thing to do,"
Juliet replied, helping the woman to her feet.
"Are you okay?"
"I am now, thanks to you,"
the old woman said.
"You have a good heart, my dear. Don't let anyone take that away from you."
Juliet smiled and helped the old woman on her way. A few weeks later, news spread throughout the village that the prince was going to choose his bride on his upcoming birthday. A grand ball was to be held, and every eligible maiden in the kingdom was invited. Juliet's stepsisters were thrilled and spent days planning their outfits, practicing their dancing, and imagining themselves as the future princess. Juliet, on the other hand, didn't dare to dream of going to the ball. She knew her stepmother would never allow it. As expected, when she mentioned it, her stepmother laughed cruelly.
"You go to the ball?"
Her stepmother sneered.
"Who would want to see a dirty, ragged girl like you at the palace? You'll stay home and finish your chores."
Juliet felt a pang of sadness but tried to push it away. She was used to being treated this way, but it didn't stop her from wishing she could have just one night of happiness. The day of the ball arrived, and the house was buzzing with excitement. Juliet's stepsisters were getting ready, and her stepmother was making sure everything was perfect for them. But Juliet had no time to think about the ball. Her stepmother had given her a long list of chores to finish before the night was over. As the clock ticked closer to the time of the ball, Juliet felt her heart sink. She knew she would never be able to finish all her work in time to go, even if she was allowed. But she couldn't help but wish for a miracle.
Just as Juliet was about to give up hope, there was a knock at the door. Surprised, she opened it to find the same old woman she had helped weeks before standing there. "Good evening, dear,"
the old woman said with a warm smile.
"I heard there's a grand ball tonight. Why aren't you getting ready?"
Juliet looked down at her worn dress and the pile of chores still left to do.
"I can't go,"
she said sadly.
"My stepmother and stepsisters won't allow it, and I have too much work to finish."
The old woman's eyes twinkled.
"Well, I think that's about to change. You helped me when I needed it most, and now it's my turn to help you."
Before Juliet could respond, the old woman clapped her hands, and suddenly, several kind villagers appeared at the door. They quickly set to work, finishing all of Juliet's chores in no time. The old woman then led Juliet to her room, where she presented her with a beautiful dress and a pair of elegant shoes.
"Where did this come from?"
Juliet asked, amazed.
"Let's just say I have a few friends in the village who were happy to help,"
the old woman replied with a wink.
"Now hurry, or you'll be late for the ball."
Juliet couldn't believe her eyes. She thanked the old woman and the villagers and quickly got ready. For the first time in her life, she felt truly beautiful. When Juliet arrived at the palace, everyone turned to look at her. She was the most beautiful girl at the ball, and the prince couldn't take his eyes off her. He asked her to dance, and they spent the entire evening together, talking and laughing as if they had known each other forever. Juliet's stepsisters were at the ball too, but they didn't recognize her. They were too busy trying to catch the prince's attention, but he only had eyes for Juliet. As the night went on, Juliet realized she had to leave before her stepmother and stepsisters discovered who she was. She said goodbye to the prince and hurried out of the palace. But as she ran, one of her shoes slipped off, and she didn't have time to go back for it. The next morning, the whole kingdom was talking about the mysterious girl who had captured the prince's heart. The prince himself was determined to find her. He had found the shoe Juliet left behind and announced that he would marry the girl whose foot fit the shoe. The prince went from house to house, trying the shoe on every girl in the kingdom. When he arrived at Juliet's house, her stepsisters pushed forward, eager to try on the shoe. But no matter how hard they tried, the shoe didn't fit. Finally, Juliet stepped forward. Her stepmother and stepsisters tried to stop her, but the prince insisted she try on the shoe. To everyone's amazement, it fit perfectly. The prince recognized Juliet immediately and asked her to marry him. She accepted, and they were soon married in a grand ceremony at the palace. The old woman Juliet had helped so long ago revealed herself as the prince's grandmother. She had been looking for a kind and selfless girl to marry her grandson, and Juliet's act of kindness had shown her that she was the perfect choice. Juliet's stepmother and stepsisters were shocked, but Juliet forgave them. She invited them to live in the palace, but they had to work for their keep, just as Juliet had done. Juliet and the prince lived happily ever after, ruling the kingdom with kindness and fairness. And Juliet never forgot the lesson she learned: kindness is its own reward, and good things come to those who help others. Moral of the story: kindness is rewarded. Helping others, even when you have nothing to gain, often leads to unexpected blessings. Juliet's act of kindness towards the old woman eventually led to her finding happiness and love. Inner beauty matters more than outer beauty. True beauty comes from within. Juliet's kindness and humility made her the most beautiful person at the ball, not just her appearance. Don't judge by appearances. The old woman seemed ordinary and powerless, but she was actually the prince's grandmother on a quest. Treat everyone with respect, regardless of how they appear. Perseverance through hardship. Despite the cruelty of her stepmother and stepsisters, Juliet remained kind and hopeful. Her patience and resilience ultimately led to her happiness. Forgiveness brings peace. Even after being mistreated, Juliet forgave her stepmother and stepsisters, showing that forgiveness can heal wounds and create harmony. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales. And remember, a small act of kindness can change someone's life, maybe even yours.